Hey everyone, it's Jacqueline for Pixie Dust PhD. Currently, it is September of 2020, which would normally mean I would be in pretty intense planning mode right now for my next trip to Walt Disney World. Today's video is going to be more of a chat and less informational, but stay tuned if you want to pontificate about future travel plans with me and perhaps commiserate a little bit. For easily over a year now, I have known that I wanted to go to Walt Disney World in September of 2021. There were several factors that went into this specific timing. First, my partner and I normally go every other year, and those happen to be in odd-numbered years, so I knew 2021 would be a Disney year for us. Second, I am pretty dang intolerant of the intense heat and humidity, especially in Central Florida in the summers. So when we think about going to Walt Disney World, we really only ever consider September through February or maybe March. And even September is pushing it a little bit. We have done theme parks during September and it is still hot. It's definitely not fall, but it's not nearly as miserable as July, for example. Also, recently we've been going in November or December, and I really love that time of year in Florida. The weather is generally speaking very palatable. It's super beautiful, and the parks are all dressed up for the holidays, which is fun, but I would like to experience the parks without being so holiday overlaid for once. Don't get me wrong, I love the holiday decor, but all of my recent pictures in the parks have all of the holiday decor in every single park. I just want to get some magic shots that maybe aren't Christmas themed for once. 3, the biggest factor for me is the upcoming 50th anniversary. So Walt Disney World, which was Magic Kingdom at the time, opened on October 1st, 1971, making October 1st of 2021 the 50th anniversary. Now, we don't know what all the plans for the 50th anniversary will be, and we can't necessarily predict attendance ever, but I would bet that a lot of people are going to be heading down to Walt Disney World for the 50th. I'm sure that all the planned activities and festivities and events and special treats, etc. are going to be spectacular, and I think that would be super fun. At the same time, I know for me that I have pretty bad crowd anxiety, so if I can avoid events where I know loads of people will be there all at one time, I do want to do that. And we don't know how long the 50th celebration anniversary is going to last. It could be that by January of 2022 or February, maybe all those crowds will have died down, but we just don't know. So the safest bet, in my opinion, is to go before the 50th anniversary, so September. And the last couple considerations for a September 2021 trip for us is that 1, September does contain the lowest DVC point season for 2021, so September 1st through 19th will be the least amount of points you would need to spend if you are DVC in order to stay. And 2, also I've never been to Mickey's Not So Scary Halloween Party, and I am pretty interested in doing that. Easily over a year ago when I started sketching out our potential 2021 trip, I also knew at that time that our 2019 trip was not going to be very long. We really just didn't have the vacation days to spend. In our 2019 trip, we ended up doing 4 full park days, so 1 day at each park, and then we also had basically an extra half day, and we spent that at the Magic Kingdom. Even way back when, before that 2019 trip, since I knew it would be shorter, I also knew I wanted our 2021 trip to be on the longer side. The general sketch that's been ruminating in my head for probably a year and a half or longer now was something like a 10 to 14 total night trip. Realistically, it'll probably have to be on the lower end of that due to work constraints, but somewhere between 6 and 10 work days, and then those 2 weekends encompassing as well. I have been imagining 2 days at Universal at the beginning. Both my partner and I really enjoy thrill rides. We love roller coasters, so Universal is a good pit stop for us. And then the rest of the time would be at Disney World. And I imagined that this would be something like 2 to 4 nights at either a value or moderate resort, and then for the rest of the time, I would split it up into 2 trips, and each of those we would have rented DVC points. So 3 total hotels, 1 being directly through Disney, either a value or moderate, and then the other 2 would have been DVC villas where we rented out points. I did have roughly in mind what I wanted the DVC villas to be, but since we're renting out points, we don't have total control of the process, and so I obviously wanted to be relatively flexible with that. But ideally, that first stint would have been Boardwalk or Beach Club, and the second part would have been a Magic Kingdom resort, ideally Bay Lake Tower or the Polynesian, but I would be open to the others as well. And to finish things off, I had been imagining that middle stint, so our first DVC rented villa, we would add the dining plan on to. There are several more expensive dining experiences that my partner and I have not done yet, basically because I can't swallow that kind of check at the end of the meal. And I know the dining plan is incredibly expensive, but there's something psychologically about paying for the dining plan and then planning out what we're going to order and making sure we're really getting our money's worth versus just ordering what we normally would, which would be far less and far less extravagant, and paying for that out of pocket. And in particular, split stays that incorporate a DVC portion make adding the dining plan to just a couple of nights pretty easy. In my head, this boardwalk or whichever DVC villa that we would be staying in the middle of our vacation would only probably be 2 nights. So 2 nights of the dining plan wouldn't be too bad, and we would have those 3 days to use up all the credits. This general plan has been ruminating in my mind, obviously very loosely, for quite a long time. Now that we are a year out from when basically I want to be in Walt Disney World, typically now I would be locking things down more. So my partner and I would be looking at our work schedules and figuring out our vacation allotments in order to really nail down those dates more. From there, I would take over most of the planning, where I'm deciding more or less which parks we want to do on which days, which park in the morning, which park in the evening, ideally what fast passes we want slotted on what days, and same with dining reservations. Then once that 11-month window opened up, we would be submitting requests to rent DVC points. However, things have obviously changed a little bit, both because of the coronavirus pandemic, but also we do have a pending resale Disney Vacation Club contract. Let's set the pending DVC contract aside and focus a little more on the pandemic aspects right now. Normally, I would rent DVC points without any hesitation. We've done it before, it's a process that I trust, it's a process that I like, and you save a ton of money compared to just booking that room through Disney directly. However, renting DVC points is incredibly inflexible. If you book a hotel, you can typically cancel that pretty dang soon up until you check in. If you rent DVC points, that is absolutely not the case. There is at least one DVC point rental company I know of where you can purchase an additional protection plan in order to get some of your money back depending on when you cancel. But that is an additional price for each reservation, and also, of course, you're not going to get 100% of your money back. So if you rent DVC points, you really are locking yourself into that vacation. Again, normally I'm totally fine with that restriction, but given the current global health pandemic, I just don't feel comfortable enough to lock up potentially thousands of dollars in a Disney Vacation Club rental right now. A year out from when I actually want to be at Disney World, I think things are too uncertain right now for me to say absolutely 100% this time next year I will be in Walt Disney World. I personally just want to leave more flexibility in my travel plans at this time. One of the most flexible options is to book a vacation package directly through Disney. I went over vacation packages in a previous video that I will link to in the description below, or you can click the card in this corner. But ultimately, vacation packages are a pretty good way to book both your hotels as well as your park tickets with some pretty high degree of flexibility. The cancellation policy for a package is not as generous as the cancellation policy for just a hotel because those tickets are included, but there's really no other way to buy tickets and then be able to later cancel them. At least to my knowledge. If I'm wrong, please let me know in the comments down below. If we were to go this route, we obviously wouldn't be renting DVC points, and I don't really think the DVC villas are worth the cash rate. So then we would likely scale our accommodations down a notch. So the first 2 to 4 nights would probably be in a value, like Pop Century, and then the rest of the vacation, whether it's 1 hotel or 2, would probably be in a moderate. Maybe if we split it up into 2, the last 2 nights or so we could do in a deluxe, but even that, some of those are like $600 a night, and I don't really know if it's worth it for me personally. The simplest thing, of course, would be just to book a vacation package at the same hotel for the entire length of the time we would be at Walt Disney World, but that doesn't appeal to me a ton, and so it's probably not a route that I will go down. And honestly, if we end up going this route, I probably will work with a Disney travel agent. That's not something that I've done before because I feel very on top of planning. Obviously, I'm a detail-oriented person, but in this case, it would be nice to have a backup person to help me out as the climate changes and as everything changes in general. Circling back to our pending DVC contract, if that closes and the contract becomes ours, it won't close in time for the exact 11-month booking window, but it definitely will close before the 7-month booking window, so I'm hopeful we would be able to book something at my home resort, Bay Lake Tower, with relative ease. We'll see. Our pending contract is for 90 points at Bay Lake Tower, and the first points we'll get will be August of 2021. A week-long stay in a Standard View studio during the lowest DVC season of 2021 at Bay Lake Tower cost 97 points. So I could borrow a few of the 2022 points in order to book a full week, and if we wanted to book more days, I could borrow more points. However, once you move points out of their use here, effectively, that's it. You can't move them back. As is probably clear by now, I am nervous about the global pandemic, general public health, my personal health situation, even as far out into September of next year. So I don't know that I would want to be plucking points from 2022 to use them in 2021 when I don't feel certain that I will be going in September of 2021. So if we do get that contract, instead of booking as long of a stay as I hopefully want to do, I will probably just book a stay that will get us at or under 90 points, so I'm not touching points from the next use year. And then we would have until our banking deadline, which this is an August use year contract, so our banking deadline would be March 31st, in order to decide if we really want to go in September, or if we want to go ahead and bank those points into the next use year. By mid-March, if we feel good about the situation and that we definitely will be going to Walt Disney World in September, then we will keep that reservation as is. From there, I would just look to see what other resorts have availability to tack on to the beginning or the end of our current Bay Lake Tower reservation. It's almost certainly going to be at a different resort, but that's fine. And then I could borrow points from 2022 in order to book that. Who knows if there will be DVC villa availability? I'm kind of guessing there might not be that soon to a vacation if we were looking in March to be going in September. But I could join waitlists, and also if that doesn't work out, we could always tack nights on probably to the beginning at a hotel, either on or off site. That's some of the logistics I'm working out in my brain right now, but of course there are other considerations as well. Right now, the experience at the parks is pretty different, and I am hopeful that that will have changed a year from now, but let's do a quick run through as a thought exercise. Previously, I have mentioned that meeting characters as well as seeing happily ever after are very important to me. That is quintessential Walt Disney World, and I don't really understand a Disney vacation without those. Right now, there are no character meet and greets and there are no nighttime spectaculars. So if that is still looking like it will be true next September, I probably would cancel. Personally, I would rather wait and go sometime in 2022 in order to have those experiences that I desire. Also, currently, you have to wear a mask while you're in the parks, and I am very pro that. I always wear a mask when I leave my apartment. I totally get it, and I'm so happy Disney World is doing that. That being said, I do have concerns about the logistics around eating and drinking while in the parks then. I know currently you are allowed to eat and drink if you are stationary, and there are lots of tables set up and spread out where you can pull over and stop in order to take your mask off and eat and drink. However, I don't think I would feel comfortable doing that. And Walt Disney World is so massive, it's not like I could easily just run into my hotel room in order to eat or to grab a drink. Plus, it's really important to stay hydrated throughout the day at Walt Disney World. The amount of water I normally consume is quite high. So it doesn't seem feasible to me to go to Walt Disney World and go to the parks with the intent of keeping my mask on the entire time I'm outside my hotel room. I have a pretty strong drive right now to only eat and drink when I deem it really genuinely safe, so for the most part that is inside of my apartment. I hope this feeling will evolve over time, but my overarching point is that if we are still in a place where masks are required outside, I don't know that I'm going to feel comfortable taking it off to eat and drink in the parks. And there really isn't a good alternative, especially for drinking, for consuming water when you're in the parks, because your hotel room is not going to be super close. Next, there currently is no dining plan offered. As I previously mentioned, I had imagined that this vacation would include a small stint with the dining plan. We definitely could get a lot of value out of it, more than we paid for it. I have done that math, as long as we were able to snag the dining reservations that I am dreaming of. These are experiences that we've been putting off for a while, primarily for money reasons, and I would like to experience them, but I don't think it's a deal breaker for me because I can always just leave it on my to-do list for our next trip to Walt Disney World. Another current factor is that there is no park hopping and you are required to make park reservations. I personally don't view park hopping as an absolute necessity, particularly if your trip is a little bit on the shorter side. My last trip actually, where we did basically 4.5 days, we just had base tickets and that worked out really well. Because I've imagined this trip to be longer though, I have imagined park hopping. I do like Magic Kingdom a lot more in the morning than in the night, although I do need to see Happily Ever After at least once, and I like Epcot a lot more at night than I like it in the morning. So for a longer trip, I was planning on breaking the days up where each day would have a morning park and an evening park. If we were to have 8 or more days worth of tickets, I don't know how I would feel about being locked into one single park for that entire time. Lack of park hopping probably isn't quite a deal breaker, but I may shorten my trip if that ends up being the case. As far as park reservation goes, that's obviously another factor that you have to plan for, which is a little bit annoying, but I feel confident I would be able to manage it. The last very big thing I'd like to discuss is fastpass. So currently there is no fastpass. That being said, right now park capacity is so low that you really don't need fastpass. I would be legitimately shocked if park capacity remained relatively low all the way a year from now. And I know that fastpass does absolutely slow the standby line down. I totally get that. But with whatever the park capacity is a year from now, I feel like it's not going to be as attractive to not have fastpass because you will be waiting in much longer standby lines, I would guess. For how expensive a Walt Disney World trip is, I really do like fastpass. I think it's a really nice way to know for sure I'm going to at least get to ride these 3 things on one day, these 3 things on the next day, etc. Not having access to fastpass reservations, I wouldn't say is 100% a deal breaker for me, but it would be a pretty dang serious consideration. I really don't like waiting in lines, and my partner is even less patient than I am, and since we were last there in November of 2019, there are a few key new openings that we definitely will want to hit up. But having to wait in a 3-hour line in order to experience those is less than attractive. Overall, I am kind of bummed right now because this is a time period where I assumed I would be really intensely planning our trip and figuring out which parks we'd want to go to and which fast passes and dining reservations we'd want to snag. Plus, if we were going to purchase the dining plan for that small chunk of our trip, I would be planning out some really cool dining experiences for us. But instead, I'm just kind of waiting in limbo. I am trying to remain pretty level-headed and not get my hopes too far up, but also not be too negative about the entire situation. Frankly though, the high hopes during the planning phase of any vacation is one of my favorite parts, and I really am missing that serotonin rush. For now, we will wait to see what happens with that pending DVC contract. If we end up getting it, then we're probably going to book something that stays within that 90-point range. If that DVC contract doesn't go through and Disney claims it during right of first refusal, well then we'll probably end up doing some sort of vacation package, and I don't really feel any rush or impetus to book that right away. A vacation package is certainly not something you need to book a full year in advance. I hope you enjoyed getting this peek into my brain and thought process surrounding the early stages of planning for my Walt Disney World trip. It's definitely more complicated now that the times are so plastic. If you did enjoy this video, please give it a like and subscribe to the channel. Ring the bell icon for notifications whenever I post new videos. Thanks so much to the returning subscribers and viewers. If you regularly view my videos but aren't subscribed, I really wish you would become a subscriber. It's free for you and it really helps me out in the eyes of the YouTube algorithm. If you want to chat about Disney planning or really anything Disney World, Disney Vacation Club, or similar, leave a comment down below, or you can find me over on Twitter and Instagram at PixieDustPhD. How is your Walt Disney World trip planning going? Do you have any clear deal breakers or not? And if you have any tips or tricks on injecting that vacation planning serotonin into your system, please do let me know down in the comments down below. I hope the rest of your day is absolutely wonderful, and we'll see you real soon at PixieDustPhD.